Welcome. I'm Doug Morgan, and you're listening to Uncommon Sense, where we hunt for the truth in the topics you're not supposed to talk about, Christianity and politics. Welcome back once again to FOMO Friday. Yes, we love to cure your fear of missing out when it comes to the news because you're not listening to propaganda media anymore, right? And so you want to stay informed. You don't listen to propaganda media. What's the solution? It's FOMO Friday. Every Friday here on the podcast, we bring you the stories of the week that you should know. Some of them you may have heard about, some of them you may not have, and we just love to bring these to you so that you stay informed. Well, from a series of articles from the Daily Wire comes this, and this is our DOGE report. We've been bringing you the DOGE report for a little while now, every week just kind of giving you an update on what's happening when it comes to DOGE. Well, the federal government has reportedly shelled out $4.6 billion for new furniture since 2020. Yeah, that's what DOGE uncovered. This is kind of crazy. During a time when only about half of all federal employees were even showing up to work in person, the Republicans on the House Oversight Committee shared a report from the New York Post detailing the recent testimony of Open the Books CEO John Hart. Now, Hart shared the findings reported through the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE project, saying, quote, since financial year 2021, executive agencies have spent more than $4.6 billion on furniture alone. That amount could buy, of course, 9.2 million American families a modest $500 kitchen table, right? I mean, it's just math, right? Quote, and of course, workplaces need desks and chairs and meeting tables. And it's true that beautiful spaces can make us more productive. But beauty at what cost? And on whose dime? This is what Hart said, arguing that at the reported cost, the government had been effectively decorating and redecorating the administrative state. Hart also notes in his opening statement that the State Department had forked out more than $1.4 million on art and drawings to fill the walls of its embassies worldwide. And this includes $200,000 for just 2 paintings by a modern abstract painter, Alfred Jensen. I don't know, never heard of the dude, but he just got $200,000 for 2 of his paintings. Quote, our embassy in Islamabad is a place where you can put your feet up thanks to 40 Ethan Allen chairs, which cost taxpayers $120,000. As the New York Post detailed, among the extravagant expenditures was $4 million for furniture and cubicles in the U.S. Agency for International Development, or, of course, USAID offices in Ukraine and in West Africa and Mozambique. In Mozambique, the spaces there, they filled those spaces with $250,000 worth of Herman Miller chairs. Again, never heard of Herman Miller, but they seem to be pretty spendy. All of these expenditures came during a period of time when, according to the Office of Management and Budget, the OMB, more than half of all government employees were choosing to work remotely, either part-time or full-time, rather than physically reporting to work. In addition, the Government Accountability Office, the GAO, reported in 2023 that out of 24 agencies, 17 had reported gross underuse, which gross underuse basically is less than 25% of their facilities. So we're talking about 17 of the 24 agencies were using less than 25% of the facilities that they own. So obviously, again, just another example here of waste and fraud. I mean, why are they buying furniture and art at these particular prices? I mean, we are $36 trillion in debt as a nation. And yet, hey, it's not their money, right? They can spend it on these lavish chairs or whatever. I mean, this is crazy, right? And so this is why we're keeping up with DOGE, because we want to see the transparency of our government. We want it exposed. We know things have been going on. We know that the money has not been spent well, and here is our opportunity to see just shining examples of this fraud. Well, we can't have a FOMO Friday without talking about this week the big news, and that is Trump's tariffs. President Donald Trump announced a 30-day pause on the tariffs on Wednesday afternoon, except for the tariff on China, which the president actually raised to 125%. But anyway, we obviously, that Trump put in these tariffs. We talked about it last Friday on basically just about every single country in the world, and differing percentages and whatnot. But as I said here, this was probably not very good policy. That the numbers that he was going off of were not just reciprocal tariffs, meaning that because they charge us 10%, we're going to charge them 10% type thing. These included other figures that really, it shouldn't be included in those things. But the good news is that Donald Trump is a populist. He's not an ideologue. We've talked about that here before. And that means that he's not just going to stand pat just because of an ideology. He's a realist, and so he's going to see what is happening, and he's going to adjust from there. And sure enough, the 90-day pause, which is effective immediately, he put, drops tariffs on foreign goods to 10% across the board. The pause comes as the Trump administration prepares for trade talks with more than 75 countries, according to Trump. So it sounds like everybody's been coming to the table wanting to strike a deal. The president said the pause is due in part to the willingness of numerous countries to come to the negotiating table without retaliating against the United States in any way. The stock market saw an immediate spike, of course, following Trump's announcement, with the S&P 500 surging 5.7%, the Dow Jones jumping 5%, and the Nasdaq going up nearly 7%. While most countries will see tariff reprieve, Trump hit China with a higher tax, citing a lack of respect that China has shown to the world's markets. The increased tariff goes into effect immediately and comes after the Chinese government retaliated with a 84% tariff to counter Trump's 50% increase. So again, they're the only ones that decided to retaliate, and they are getting knocked for a loop here. Quote, at some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the United States and other countries is no longer sustainable and acceptable. This is what Trump wrote on Truth Social. At a press conference outside the White House following Trump's announcement, Treasury Secretary Scott Bassett praised Trump's great courage to stay the course until this moment. Quote, the successful negotiating strategy that President Trump implemented a week ago today has brought more than 75 countries forward to negotiate, Bassett said. What we have ended up with here, as I told everyone a week ago in this very spot, do not retaliate, and you will be rewarded, he added. So every country in the world who wants to come and negotiate, we are willing to hear you, he said. Well, Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, he wrote on X that he and Bassett, quote, sat with the president while he wrote one of the most extraordinary truth posts of his presidency, unquote. He said that the world is ready to work with President Trump to fix global trade, and China has chosen the opposite direction. So, China definitely has kind of been asking for this for a while. I mean, they do rip off intellectual property. They do a lot of things that basically you shouldn't be doing if you have fair trade, and now they're going to have to come to terms with that, and we'll see how that comes down. And we get a fourth of our imports from China, so it is going to affect us, and we'll see if they come and have cooler heads. Well, speaking of Trump, something came out the other day that was really quite interesting, and it actually maybe poses more questions than it answers. But according to a bombshell court filing from the Department of Justice, Ryan Wesley Routh, the suspect in the September Trump assassination attempt, you remember him? Well, he communicated with a person he believed to be a Ukrainian with access to military-grade weapons and requested a rocket-propelled grenade, or RPG, lamenting that then presidential nominee, of course, Donald Trump, quote, is not good for Ukraine, unquote. Well, the DOJ court filing in the Southern District of Florida alleges that Routh messaged his contact, quote, send me an RPG or Stinger missile, and I will see what we can do. Trump is not good for Ukraine, unquote. This according to the filing. And Routh added that, quote, I need equipment so that Trump cannot get elected, unquote. Routh's alleged discussion with the Ukrainian contact also included details about the price of the shipment of the weapons, according to prosecutors. And the suspect also allegedly sent his Ukrainian contact a photo of Trump's plane, writing, Trump's plane, he gets on and off daily. He also discussed the potential shipment of anti-aircraft weapons, such as a rocket or missile launcher, according to the filings as well. Quote, going to the local store for such an item is impossible. However, you are at war, so those items lost and destroyed daily. One missing would not be noticed. Do you think Trump will be good for Ukraine? And a bunch of question marks, like 5 of them or so. After Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, Routh focused much of his attention on the conflict, telling Newsweek in a 2022 interview that he was reuniting people to fight for Ukraine in its war against Russia. He also claimed that he fought in the war on behalf of Ukraine. However, neither of those statements have been verified. Routh was arrested in southern Florida last September and charged with the attempted assassination of Trump at Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach. Trump was playing a round of golf on September 15th when Routh allegedly hid in a bush on the outside of the golf course with a semi-automatic rifle. The suspect was spotted by a Secret Service agent as Trump neared the attempted assassination's hideout. And Routh allegedly fled after the agent opened fire and was arrested in Martin County less than an hour later, driving a vehicle with a witness that a witness saw leaving the area near the attempted assassination. Now, investigators say that Routh wrote a letter admitting to the attempted assassination of Trump. So I guess when I say allegedly, I mean he admitted to it, right? In the letter, Routh allegedly wrote that this was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I am so sorry I failed you. Routh pleaded not guilty to multiple charges, including attempted assassination of a major presidential candidate, assaulting a federal officer, and multiple gun charges. On Monday, Routh's legal defense asked the judge overseeing the case to suppress statements an eyewitness made to police, arguing that police set up a situation where the irreparable misidentification could occur, according to CBS News. The defense alleges that the eyewitness was shown just one photo of Ralph, which was taken after his arrest, and Ralph's trial is scheduled to begin on September 8th, and he faces life in prison if convicted. So, again, I mean, he was trying to get a Stinger missile. He wanted to take out Trump with the Stinger missile. But like I say, this raises some real questions here because if you think about it, okay, he was trying to get this Stinger missile for some time, and of course we knew about it as a government. We were monitoring this. That's how we came upon him here, knowing that what he was trying to do. So you have all of this information, and yet the security for Trump was still the way it was, with very, very light, very poor security for presidential candidate and former President Donald Trump. Why was this the case? I mean, if you knew that people like him were trying to get hold of things like Stinger missiles, you probably should have upped his security. But anyway, again, you know, it answers some questions and poses probably even more questions. But we'll stay on top of that. But also, speaking of cover-ups and things, the Biden administration reportedly hid a 2022 report from the Defense Department that stated 7 military members might have contracted COVID-19 in Wuhan, China, as early as October of 2019. This throws some monkey wrenches into things, right? The December 2022 report from the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness examined, quote, the number of United States athletes and staff who attended the 2019 World Military Games and became ill with coronavirus disease, 2019, COVID-19, like symptoms during or shortly after their return to the United States, unquote. It added the Department of Defense, or DOD, has concluded through correspondence with the Army, the Marine Corps, the Navy, the Air Force, and the United States of America Medical Director in charge of the safety and health of the participants in the 2019 World Military Games, that 7 service members who attended the games exhibited COVID-19 like signs and or symptoms during the time frame of October 18th, 2019 through January 21st of 2020. Now, the COVID-19 like symptoms could have been caused by other respiratory infections, and all 7 service members' symptoms resolved within 6 days. Quote, the December 2022 report, which the Biden administration was required by law to release to the public over 2 years ago, but didn't, revealed for the first time that 7 U.S. military service members contracted COVID-19 like symptoms during or after their participation in the World Military Games in Wuhan, China, October of 2019. Contradicting the Biden administration's public claim in 2021 that there was no evidence that any American participants contracted the virus at those games. The Washington Free Beacon, which wrote and broke the story, noted that, quote, the revelation adds to a mounting body of evidence that the virus was circulating in Wuhan for months before China disclosed it to the world in December of 2019, and further bolsters the growing consensus that it could have leaked into the human population from a Chinese lab, unquote. Yeah, you think? Well, the report was not made public until last month, when the Trump administration unloaded it to the Department of Defense website. The U.S. team used chartered flights to and from the games via Seattle Tacoma International Airport. And Washington was one of the earliest states to show a spike in COVID-19. The American Prospect reported in June of 2020 this fact. And in May of 2020, the Daily Mail reported that athletes from different countries suspected they might have been they might have contracted COVID-19 at the 2019 World Military Games. French pentathlete there said that she and her partner Valentine Bellade contracted COVID-19 at the games. And Italian fencer there claimed everyone in his Wuhan apartment got the symptoms that looked like those of COVID-19. Jacqueline Bach of the German volleyball team said after a few days, some athletes from my team got ill, and I got sick in the last 2 days. I have never felt so sick. Either it was a very bad cold or COVID-19, and I think it was COVID-19. Quote, taxpayers deserve to know the truth about COVID-19's origins, but the Biden administration concealed this information from the American people for years. That's according to Joni Ernst, the Republican who told this to the Free Beacon. This report should have been made public immediately and not restricted to Washington insiders. If Americans visited Wuhan were purportedly infected with the COVID-19 virus in October of 2019, those claiming the pandemic began in a wet market just 2 months later would be completely off base. And so, again, our government knew this. The Biden administration knew what was happening here. And they hid this anyway. And this is a report that they are, by law, supposed to release. And guess what? They didn't do it, right? They didn't do it because it contradicted their wet market narrative, one that Fauci and everybody else was putting out there. And so, again, it was a cover-up. And it was a cover-up of the truth by our own government. Well, I want to move on to some better news. West Virginia Congressman Riley Moore and Utah Senator Mike Lee on Tuesday introduced legislation that would ensure that new moms are not penalized under federal law for deciding to leave the workforce and stay home with their child. This is good news, right? The Republican lawmakers introduced a new bill that would amend the Family and Medical Leave Act to ensure that parents are not required to pay back health care costs if they decide to stay home after the birth of their child. The bill, first shared with the Daily Wire actually here, is titled the Fairness for Stay-at-Home Parents Act. Quote, being pro-life means being pro-family. That means ensuring families aren't penalized for deciding to have a parent stay home with their new baby. This is what Moore told the Daily Wire. Our bill ensures families won't face a huge bill for insurance premiums simply for choosing what's best for their family. Now, if passed, the legislation would save families thousands of dollars if a parent decides to stay at home and take care of the child. Currently, employers are allowed to claw back insurance premiums if a parent decides to leave the workforce. And family insurance premiums cost an average of $25,000 per year. So we'll keep our eye on that. It looks like it might be something that's good, and it looks like might be something that might pass here very soon. Well, wanted to move on to something here that caught my eye that was quite humorous. Now, you might, I don't know, maybe you're not going to think of it as funny as I do. Obviously, as I've said before, this podcast originates from the Pacific Northwest. And in the Pacific Northwest, we have a lot of trees. We have a lot of forested area. And trees grow very plentifully here. The problem is that not everybody knows this, I guess, because Longtime MSNBC host Chris Matthews appeared baffled by President Donald Trump's implementation of tariffs against Canada, asking how Americans were supposed to work around the fact that the United States imports a lot of lumber from its northern neighbor. Yeah, he's baffled by this. Quote, we get so much of our lumber, our 2x4s from Canada. This is what Matthews said during Wednesday's appearance on MSNBC's Morning Joe. He said, what are we going to do? Have more lumber made in the United States now? Yeah. We're just going to have it made in factories or something. Quote, this other thing. I watched on the evening news last night, one of the other networks, and I watched the issue of lumber, Matthews explained. Now you see, we get so much of our lumber, our 2x4s from Canada. That's where we get it from. Canada, he said. We get our newsprint from up there for newspapers. The fact is, we get what we are going to do. Have more lumber made in the United States now? I mean, come on. This is, I mean, the propaganda media, these guys are just so out of touch with reality. But when you see it come down like this, it just makes you shake your head a little bit, doesn't it? He said, what is our plan now? He said, oh, we're not going to import wood, so we're going to make more wood. We're going to create more wood. Is that it? I don't think we're going, that we're in a position to simply retaliate the imports coming into the country with our own products. It can't always be done. And I think wood's an example of that. Wood, we are going to make more wood in this country because of our trade deal. I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, we literally have so much wood that could be harvested, but because of environmental type things, much of that is off limits. Even when there's a forest fire, which happens because you're not managing the forest and you're not cutting some trees, when there's a forest fire, you can't cut those dead trees because of environmental reasons. I mean, there's so much stuff that happens around this, and well, people like Chris Matthews evidently don't know that. Well, let's end on again, another high point here. And this, I think you're going to like. President Donald Trump made waves again on Wednesday with his ongoing push against weak showerhead water pressure. Yes! At the White House, Trump signed an executive order to splash back in the Obama-Biden war on showers, reviving a fight from his first term to boost showerhead flow, a move later undone by the Biden administration. Okay, so we're kind of going back and forth on this. But, quote, in my case, I like to take a nice shower to take care of my beautiful hair, Trump quipped, prompting a round of laughs, of course, at the Oval Office. He says, I have to stand in the shower for 15 minutes until I get wet. It comes out, drip, drip, drip. It's ridiculous, he says. In 2021, the Biden administration moved to reverse a Trump-era rule from 2020 that redefined shower heads, allowing each nozzle to deliver up to 2.5 gallons per minute. That change had loosened an Obama-era standard, capping the total flow at 2.5 gallons across all nozzles. And the prior administration argued that tighter showerhead water flow limits promoted water conservation and lowered consumer utility costs. Quote, as many parts of America experience historic droughts, this common sense proposal means consumers can purchase showerheads that conserve water and save them money on their utility bills. That was Biden's Energy Department official that said that. On the first day of his second term, Trump's White House outlined his energy priorities, promising consumers the prospect of more choice in appliances like shower heads and toilets and washing machines and dishwashers. And guess what? He ended up delivering on it. So that's awesome. I think we're going to need to go out and get a new shower head soon, right? Before we get another Democrat in office and he reverses things here. Maybe a new dishwasher or new toilet as well. We'll have to see. But anyway, good news for those that like their showers. And would love to hear from you on it. If you think this is a good deal, if you are praising this as well, I would love to hear from you. And of course, you can always do that at uncommonsensepodcast.com. We're on YouTube as well. And thank you for listening.
This podcast is a production of Morganite Communications.